the best practices in accordance to the ISO 17020.
Now, stakeholders in the banking industry have been urged to adopt mediation as opposed to litigation to solve their commercial disputes, noting that mediation is one of the options that could resolve conflicts in a timely manner. Speaking during the inaugural Banking Industry Mediation Conference, Kenya Bankers Association chairperson John Gashora urged customers to have their grievances addressed in other ways as opposed to rushing to court. He spoke to Jimmy Mbogo on the sideline of the two-day conference. Jimmy, good afternoon.
All right, a very good afternoon to you too, Noah. Yes, as you rightfully said, this is the inaugural mediation summit that is being hosted by the Kenya Bankers Association. Now, the poster behind me, you can see the theme there, which says banking and mediation leading the way. Now, the whole point of this conversation that is going on here is looking for alternative ways to resolve disputes between bankers and their customers, and also it could also go into amongst banks themselves. Now, one of the issues that has come out, and these are some of the figures that the Chief Justice has mentioned, is the number of mediation cases that are currently about 12,213 cases that have been referred to mediation. The worth of this in terms of monetary value is about 55 billion shillings. Now, about 5,000 issues have been settled to tune and releasing about 16 billion shillings back into the economy. Now, to help me understand some of the issues that why bankers have decided that mediation could be their solution, I'm joined by Kenya Bankers Association chairperson, that is the CEO for NCBA Bank, John Gashora. John, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Now, from where you sit as a banker, first of all, what role does mediation play?
So in terms of the numbers, as you say, 55 billion, but you see it's 55 billion that is accruing interest every night. So every night a case is delayed, or every day we wait for a case to be heard or to be determined, that's additional interest. In my own calculation, for most cases that go to court, when they start at the beginning of the dispute to the point where it's resolved, often, unfortunately for clients, the interest has accrued to the point it reaches the induplam rule. So that is the problem we're looking at. It's a big problem. Yeah. So it's 55 that's going to double just because of the wait for the court cases. So what mediation does is really shorten that time. And the reason we're advocating this is that, as I said, the cost of waiting is too high. The cost of lawyers also is too high. Yeah, and often clients will run, or customers will run to a lawyer for the same money they probably would have paid to the bank to settle their cases. Yeah. So what we're advising our customers, what we're advising banks as well, is to use the alternative dispute resolution mechanism through mediation, where cases can be determined within a week or within a few days.
What more needs to be done to assure Kenyans that when you go through a mediation process, you're still going to get a fair judgment, a fair hearing?
Well, I think the first place to start is awareness, and that's the reason we have this summit, to create awareness, to make sure that more people are involved in determining the rules and the determinations or determinations process. So one is to create awareness. I think the second thing is that to look at the numbers, just as you mentioned them. The numbers tell the truth, that there has been 5,000 cases already determined through mediation. So it works. And I think the third thing is to remember that the African way of solving disputes was actually through mediation. So we're going back to a traditional way of solving disputes, yeah? Before we run to the new way of solving them, which is to go in front of a judge. It makes more sense that the people who are involved in that dispute are the ones talking, as opposed to talking to a third party and having the third party make the determination for you. So it's really that creation of a way to solve. I think the other thing I would say is that, as you mentioned the numbers, 55 billion worth of cases in court, and I suppose there could be a lot more. There are many waiting in the queue. The banking sector has been at the forefront of trying to get cases resolved quickly. Yeah. Many years ago, we worked with the judiciary to set up the first commercial court in this country, at Milimani Commercial Courts. And indeed, that has helped move justice forward in commercial cases in this country. We do think this is yet another, one of the biggest steps we shall make in moving commercial cases a lot faster to go through mediation.
All right, John, you're a businessman. One of the things that we know is that disputes cost a lot of money and they make it extremely hard to do business. Talk to us about how the environment has been and how you expect this mediation process now to be able to change that.
Yes, I think the country we're in today is Kenya. We've become a fairly litigious country. That's the truth. And every day banks are being taken to court. Yeah, and banks don't like to go to court. I mean, banks are gentlemanly by nature. We want to resolve our cases. We want you to come, we sit, we resolve our cases. Yes, banks can afford lawyers, unfortunately, and I want to tell customers banks can afford lawyers, and so they'll go to court with you. They'll follow however long it takes, but that's not the right way to go about it. It's a costly process for you as a customer. It's a costly process for us as banks.
All right, thank you so much, John, for speaking to us. Of course, it is the inaugural summit, and we will be looking to see what comes out of this. Thank you for making time for us. And of course, Noah, there's a lot of conversations that are currently going on in terms of just making sure that we move away from litigation and just be able to resolve disputes outside the court processes. And as you've heard there from John Gashora, litigations are quite expensive, and with the current backlog within the Kenyan courts, that could take more time for customers and for Kenyans in general. But for now, I will hand it over back to you. We'll be giving you more details in terms of what has happened here in our subsequent bulletins.
All right, now, thank you so much.